Welcome to the Real Chili Podcast.
And the Golden Eagles of Marquette University in Milwaukee are bound for the Final Four for only the third time ever.
5 seconds left. Marquette down by one, trying to avoid the upset. Blue the drive, the left hand. It's good. 1 second to play. Vander Blue has put Marquette in front by one.
And I want to win every day as basketball players, as students, and I want to win every day, most importantly, as people.
A very good evening to everyone out in Real Chili Land. For the love of God, we hope you're drinking like we are. Marquette loses again, this time to the Providence Friars, falling hell. I don't even remember the goddamn final score.
72-63.
Thank you, Peter Mohan, the second, and definitely not the runner-up, though, on this podcast. Pete Mohan. Pete, Marquette has lost again. They are now 500 on the year and 4-6 in the Big East Conference. Pete, how's that losing record feel?
Well, the reason I'm wearing my sunglasses today is because I had to gouge my eyes out.
So it's not because the future's bright. I was going to say it can't be because the future's bright.
If the future were bright, these pupils would be wide open.
Yeah, that's true.
These pupils have learned enough, I think, over the course of this season to understand that there's not a ton of upside really to be had with this squad. I mean, they're ranked on KenPom like 65th or something like that. And, you know, I really feel that that's about what they are. You know, they're a bottom third Big East team, and they're going to go under 500.
But you have not thought this was a bottom third Big East team since day one.
No, absolutely.
What got you to that point?
I just think for me, I really feel that. I'm sorry, I'm hearing the feedback in your background, Brian. But
yeah, I got it off now. Sorry about that.
For me, the biggest disappointment is the lack of development of Theo John on the defensive end. He has plateaued totally, and I mean, sure, he throws a few hook shots up there every once in a while, but this is a guy that we're supposed to be counting on for at least a little bit of growth and anchoring this team defensively. And tonight, not a terrible defensive performance. We held our own there against Providence defensively, but there's really no reliable offensive. I like to use the term drink stirrer, but it's the lack of development from the guys that we need consistent performance from. Jamal Cain has kind of dropped off. But
that's what is it dropped off, or Jamal's going to be feast or famine from time to time? That's what he is on his best day, right?
Feast or famine. Well, I don't think he's ever really been a feast kind of guy, but
he's given us some big games. He was big against Georgetown and pulling that game off. We don't win that game without him there.
But those are big shots. It's not like we're getting game-winning offensive performances from him or Greg. And I think also you're talking about development, embarrassing amount of development out of Samir Torrance. He played maybe some more solid minutes today, ball handling, but still, if I take a look at the old KenPom box score, I believe, that's another sub 50 offensive rating from Samir Torrance with, a turnover in 15 minutes and 2 points. So I don't know. It's just that you would think that there would be a little bit more overall growth with the minutes provided. That was my hope, is that with all these other minutes to spread around, that some of these guys would step up in their higher utilization, and maybe a new skill would appear, a new shot. Hey, this guy likes to hit this elbow jumper. I don't know. For me, it was the law of averages, that something must percolate in the absence of Marcus and these other guys. And it simply has not. And I don't know, what do we have to totally turn to Wojo on that? I mean, and do you agree with my assessment that nothing has really appeared?
Well, I'd say the biggest critique, I mean, we'll get into the specifics on tonight in just a minute, but yeah, to go back out to, 15,000 feet. Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway as a whole on the season, maybe I'm nuts and you guys can hammer me in the chat if you want. I like this roster. I don't think this is a bad roster that you can't win with. I think they actually assembled a decent amount of different skill sets that can help you win games. But I will agree with you, Peter, that the growth of this roster from where it was stealing games against Wisconsin and Creighton earlier in the year, they haven't taken more steps, and they've lost games like this. Look, in a vacuum, is there any shame in losing on the road at Providence? Providence is solid. No, I mean, they're going to probably beat Mark. Splitting with Providence makes sense, but you have not split with Providence. You've lost both this year, and you're on the heels of your biggest loss of the season, and you came out and only scored, what was it, 20 points in the first half, 25 points, 18 points in the first half. I mean, shit. I mean, and granted, look, I'll give them ups for what they did down the stretch, because I thought they really outplayed them in the last 7 minutes. Almost won the game in regulation and had all the momentum going into overtime, and it wasn't there. But yeah, you're right, Pete. I mean, yeah, they flatlined. I mean, this team as a whole, I don't think has drastically gotten better from where they were at day one to today.
And also, why can DJ Carton only drive for a dunk when we're trailing by 10 with 30 seconds left?
That's a fair question.
What the hell? I mean, like that, you can't be like, that's on Wojo. Hey, that's on Wojo that DJ Carton doesn't drive with authority until the last. I mean, like, you can't put that. That's something you can't put on Wojo at all. Like, I don't know what it is. What you want?
But that's a tough thing, right? Because the hardest thing, Pete, is to get the talent in the door that can play. And I'd say, as a whole, all of us, you, me, we liked this roster, and it's not delivering victories. Even again,
but that's where I will say I will reinforce the primary gripe that I have with the Wojo regime is kind of what I've been saying here today and previously, that he doesn't really get anything more than the sum of its parts, and sometimes even less. And what I was saying, even by the law of averages, someone should emerge as a key role player on this team, and that hasn't necessarily happened. And I think that's something to be said. It's a more abstract complaint of Wojo, but he hasn't provided that fertile soil for organic random growth from players, or like, you're never like, oh man, that guy's really playing his game. It always seems like they're fitting into a box.
Yep.
And I mean, look, you have to have some kind of standardization. You have to have some kind of system and set of guidelines to hold everyone on a team accountable. I understand that is the structure that's necessary to maintain regular order. Sure. But, I've never played for Wojo. I can't necessarily speak to his day-to-day team management and the environment. I think the guys seem to decently like him, at least, but like, for whatever it is, it doesn't seem to foster any creativity or, just natural basketball things happening from the players out there. Unless and it almost seems like when those things are happening, it's when guys are freshmen, like these plays from Justin Lewis, assertive drive that he had, that inside out dribble that he beat Watson to the lane and the left hand finish. It seems like sometimes even those assertive, maybe almost dumb plays that a coach would frown upon, and you say no, yes, when the guy makes it, like that, those plays are taken out of a guy's game by Wojo. They're not making those risky drives or passes by the time they get to their senior year, but their game are like almost totally sterilized, it seems like. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my biggest gripe, and I don't know what you do to fix that. You just need a new coach, I guess, or whatever, but
I mean, Pete, I'm not going to lie. This is the first night, really, I've seen you kind of really go in on this coaching staff. Isn't it? Are you out as a whole, or have you?
No, I'm not out because I still think the recruiting is good enough for me to hang around at this point. Look, I said,
that's a big thing in the chat right now that people are throwing out right now. Should we move on?
People want me to tip. No, but of course, the DePaul loss, and you had your impassioned solo podcast. I did not podcast after the DePaul game, but that's one of those games where I was like, that's basically a deal breaker. But at the same time, it's like if there's going to be a Marquette team that loses to DePaul, and certainly not the worst iteration of DePaul right now, but you still hate to see it. But at the same time, this isn't like senior Marcus Howard and the Hauser Bros and like a stacked lineup. We have to understand what this roster is and what it isn't. This isn't a senior laden team that was expected from the get-go to contend for a Big East title and all that. Right. There has to be some boundaries here between the standard of excellence at Marquette and what's actually been expected from this roster.
And let's be real. If we sat in our preseason pods or after game one and we told this group of people on here tonight or fans across the country that, hey, Marquette's going to be 8-8 through its first 16 games and 4-6 in the league, I think everybody would have bought that. I don't think for the reasons you just outlined, right? Extremely young roster, massive turnover, losing a guy that scored half your points a game. That's probably, and by the way, the league's pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people would look at this roster before the season and even right now and say, this team, well, not right now maybe, but before the season, this team could go anywhere between 3 and 7. It was pretty established that Nova and Creighton would be up there at the top. And it's kind of been a question even still as to who's that third best team in the Big East. I mean, Xavier's beatable. Seton Hall's certainly beatable, but, they've been winning games. I mean, it's not like Marquette is that the gap between Seton Hall or the gap between Xavier and Marquette. It's not huge.
No, you're right.
And here, we're a bucket away from this, what according to Ken Pom would have been a quadrant A road victory, and putting yourself back at 5-5. I mean, it's not like this team is some basement dwelling piece of trash team.
No.
They have really shown up in just about every game, maybe save for that Villanova matchup. But I don't know. People just need to reconcile what their expectations were from this team with what's actually happening.
Yeah, and I
hate. It's like this is my biggest thing. Is this was always within the spectrum of possibility? Well, yeah, sure, anything is really within the spectrum of possibility. But I don't think that you can look at this team's performance right now through the season and be like, that's crazy. What a disappointment.
Yeah. Well, and that's the part that sucks is what you're saying is we all recalibrated on the fly after beating Wisconsin and stealing one at Creighton. And I don't think anybody had grand illusions they were going to compete for the league title, but it was, hey, we could be a solid tournament make and not have to sweat it out on Selection Sunday because we got these two great wins in our back pocket. And, we just got to find a way to get to – or because we're going to play 20 league games, right? So you got to find a way to get to 11-9 in conference, and you're that pretty much will guarantee it. So hum just above 500, which is still technically attainable. But when you drop in a loss to DePaul, right, and this was a swing game here, you've now lost twice to Providence. You couldn't steal one of those. It doesn't, lay out well for you. Look,
I will say it's not a hard schedule going out. Like,
no, it's
looking
not.
At these 8 games, Butler twice. We're a better team than Butler, in my opinion. We'll find out, I guess. St. John's, DePaul, Xavier, who we nearly beat, Connecticut, who we had a lead on, and then Creighton is on February 6th, the game we will probably lose.
We need to skip that Creighton game. Oh my God, are they going to come in pissed off? Holy
but I mean,
shit.
Outside of Creighton, those other 7 games.
No, you're right. You could see them winning. You can rationalize they're good enough to beat all those teams, right? I mean, they're not.
And I think 4-4 sounds reasonable, and then you come out of it and you're 8-10 in Big East play, finishing 6th or 7th is essentially exactly what we expect.
But what the shame is that they're good enough to be like, you know what? Why not rattle off a 6-2 stretch, right? Like you can go 6-2 in those final 8 games, and that would probably get them in. Probably, I think, if they went 6-2 down the stretch. But it's tough. It's like, you don't build yourself any pad when you go and blow a game to DePaul. They got to, and don't forget, they got to make up a game against Georgetown, ideally, that wasn't played on the 20th, so they do have another Georgetown game in there as well, right? If they attempt to make it up. They haven't rescheduled it yet or not, but presumably somewhere in there they're going to play Georgetown as well, another team they should beat. So you're right. No, look, the schedule is still out there to where at the end of the year, and I guess that's a thing we ask ourselves for everybody here, if this team is in the tournament at the end of the year, are we all okay with what happened? I think the answer is no. As a whole, because I think everybody knows, like, hey, what's the end goal here, right? Is the end goal is to compete for a conference title and try to put a roster together that could go deep in the NCAA tournament, and it doesn't feel like we're moving in that direction. Like we're just
this roster is not capable of that.
This one isn't, but is it building towards a roster that could be?
Well, I think if you just look at the young guys, I mean, who knows who's going to the league or whatever.
Majority of this team is back next year. They're going to get an infusion. I can't remember the kid's name, but the stud 6'11" kid that'll be coming in next year. It's 4 or 5 stars. I mean,
Jonas Adu.
Thank you. Like, we're going to be good up front. I like DJ Carton. I like Justin Lewis. I mean, I like a lot of the primary dudes in our rotation. I think we need another.
Greg Elliott will be a senior.
Yeah, Greg Elliott will be back just to give you veteran depth at 15, 17 minutes a game, unless he grad transfers someplace else. But that would be surprising. I think he wants to contribute another year here. No, I mean, the roster lines up to where it's a year older, more experienced and talented, and they have a chance to be really competitive in the league. But the biggest thing that you just come back to is you're simply, are they going to improve? Are they going to get better? And the fact that we're questioning that is kind of the biggest, I guess, most damning, thing that we're talking about this, because you should be improving as the year goes on. And it kind of feels like we're stuck in the mud.
I think this is maybe the simplest way that I will assess whether this team is hanging within my realm of respectability is on the years where they're not expected to compete for a Big East title. Are they at least competitive in most of the games? Maybe that's a low standard. But then on the years where the roster is capable of competing for whatever that Big East title or making a Sweet 16 or something like that. What are we doing to accomplish that or not? And I think I don't know, the most disappointing event on that front for me was the loss at against Murray State in the tournament, because it seemed like that was our best compilation of talent in the Wojo era, and that team fell on its face in that game. And this,
they also ran into a player that was better than anybody that we had.
Well, sure,
that didn't help.
You should be able to stop one guy, but I don't want to rehash that game.
I got you.
But I'm just saying, like that was maybe where I would say, okay, I want more out of Wojo in that moment. We didn't accomplish enough with that team.
Yeah,
with this team, like, I don't know. I mean, that I'm seeing the young guys get minutes and at least somewhat developing their game. I want to see more from Dawson Garcia. He was a bit of a no-show again after only taking 4 shots against DePaul. He only had 5 points tonight.
Yeah,
so, but as long as they're getting minutes and they're playing and we're competitive against good teams in the Big East, like, can you really be that pissed? I don't know. I can't get that pissed about it. Am I disappointed? Yes, I want to win.
It's interesting.
I want to win, but
I'd be curious. Well, I should dive into this here before I make this up. But I mean, the chat is as entertaining as it always is. Peter, the rousing consensus from the people is that you're wearing shades to block out the haters tonight, and that you have come to this podcast to keep the haters on the outside, and your shades are doing that. So props to you. The people are impressed with that. Yeah, a lot of anti-Wojo. That's not a shock for what we've come to see from these, and I understand, again, see where it's coming from and understand it. And I'm not mad at anybody who's feeling some type of way about that. So that it is what it is. We've outlined it.
I don't like being that Homer guy. And that, like, now, everyone makes me feel that way. I feel like in the Marquette fan base, just because everyone is so off the Wojo bandwagon. But I mean, I am still willing to wait and see because of the talent. I just think you want as many bullets in that gun as you can. And if the recruiting took a dip, I would totally be off. But, like, I can't. It's still it's still good enough for me. Those 4-6, baby, 8-8. I love it, man.
Damn, you know, Pete. You know what you are right now, and it's what I said the other day on that solo one, and folks are saying you sound a little apathetic, and I think which is a stunner, because you are team positivity and team energy. You get us.
I'm not apathetic for, like, I get excited for every game. I get excited for every play.
But you see, this is the most, with, at least not withdrawn isn't the right word, but you're tired. You're tired of talking about the same damn things every single game.
Yes. Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
for those of you who don't know me personally, like, I am someone who espouses change in some respects. I don't like listening to songs over and over again, or they get ruined for me. I like to order something different off the menu every time I hit the diner. So it is painful for me. I think maybe that's my issue, is I don't know how to separate the pain and blandness of repetitiveness that most people submit themselves to on a daily basis from something that's simply a byproduct of Steve Wojciechowski's boringness. I really don't know where that line sits.
That was an incredible. I wasn't following you for a second. That was incredibly well put. I gotta say, that was incredibly well put.
Maybe
gracious.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, look, hey, it's where we are right now. I mean, really quick, we haven't really dove in too deep into this game. It almost feels moot at this point. But look, hey, Marquette only scores 18 points in the first half. We already outlined. They outscore Providence 41-34 in the second, play their asses off in the last 7 minutes to take a lead. I think they went up by as many as 4 in the final, somewhere in the final 3 minutes of the game, maybe 5.
Might have only been 3.
Force overtime. The last possession, there wasn't a ton of time left, but that wasn't the greatest shot in the world you could get. But they carry all the momentum into the overtime and then proceed to get outscored 13-4, which, that was pretty damn disappointing. The biggest thing that jumps out tonight, and this is an effort thing, and you talk about energy, 12 offensive. I'm not going to go full rebound margin because I think the rebound margin is obviously fleeting, but I do think offensive rebounds are a big deal because that's second chances to score. Marquette only 3 offensive rebounds tonight. Providence had 12, and that is a big deal, and that allows a guy like David Duke to go for 31 points, and oh, by the way, he played 43 friggin' minutes in this game. The guy never came off the court. Couldn't do anything with him. He absolutely roasted us. On the Marquette end, Kobe McEwen's your leading scorer at 12 points. It means a lot of guys contributed. Elliott 8, you get 12 from Justin Lewis, 12 from DJ, 9 from Theo. But like you said, a little bigger game from Dawson Garcia, who's on the court nearly 30 minutes, only gives you 5. You get beat. I mean, it's that simple. You don't win many games where you only score 18 points and a half, and they somehow had themselves in a position to win this one possibly. They were fortunate for that, but 63 points isn't going to get the job done, especially 63 in an overtime period. So you get what you get.
Well, and starting off with 18 in the first half is not the best way to get things rolling.
No. And I'll tell you what, defensively they did a great job because they're fortunate they weren't down more. To only be down 7 at halftime, if you only scored 18, they could have been down 15, 17 points easily if Providence shoots the ball a little bit better. So that –
yeah, you got to give a little credit to the defense.
Yeah, it was. No, they did a good job against again.
But at the same time, a guy puts up 31 on you. So
well, and that's the other frustrating thing is they couldn't do anything with Duke. The Grand Wizard just roasted them tonight, or pardon me, the Black Klansman, as you like to call him.
And Black Klansman, David Duke. But yeah. I will say the other thing is one of the bugaboos of this team's defense has been leaving open 3-point shooters, of which AJ Reeves was left open late, I believe, to tie the game with a 3-pointer late in it. And just can't have those. I mean, this team, if you're not going to be getting it done with talent, you at least have to be able to get it done with knowing your assignment. So,
well, Pete, let me have you dive in here because we should pay some attention to it. The last possession of regulation, the people are calling for it. 25 seconds, and you end up having to draw up a play with 0.8 seconds. Probably not the best clock management in the world down the stretch.
Well, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but DJ Carton kind of bobbled the ball when he started his dribble, and that's kind of what led to the scramble and then the timeout.
Correct. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that happens. As
yep.
I'm thinking.
I'm just saying in a vacuum.
The Jarrell McNeil dribbling the ball out of bounds. You would know what game that was.
Jarrell McNeil dribbling the ball,
or was it Dominique? I don't know. It seemed like there was always a few plays where we had the last.
I'm sure there was.
They just dribbled the ball out of bounds, but
Jarrell, who is an absolute. We love Jarrell, friend of the pod. Great Twitter follow. He's always shouting out Marquette everywhere. But my lasting memory of Jarrell that was a breakdown is him getting beat backdoor in the Big East tournament quarterfinals against Villanova our senior year, and that was a defensive player of the year, and he just got caught ball watching. Not to rehash a game from 12 years ago, but
I don't want to rehash a possession that hinged on a sloppy handle. Because honestly, DJ is our best ball handler. He was just a little sloppy with it, and then I don't know how else you want to analyze that possession. But
yeah, no, that's fair.
That's what happens. Sometimes you don't.
Back to the chat. Let's see here. What else we got?
What you got in there?
The people are entertaining. Mohan handling Wojo a lifetime contract. Wojo had a timeout.
Yeah.
Pete is not Pete. How is that not on Wojo? 2 timeouts left. Drop a play for DJ driving downhill. There's a real chance the game ends. It is our goal to make Pete crack on Wojo. The people are all over you, Pete. I love it. They're pulling for you. They want to see you crack.
I think this is the funniest thing for me to play hard to get on.
They want you to get negative, but stay firm. You are who you are. There's not a whole lot much else to say on this pod. We're bummed. I mean, we're 500. This sucks. I mean, they've lost 2 bad games in the last week. One of them is inexcusable. If you beat not that things feel drastically better if they had beaten DePaul, but things feel infinitely worse when you mix a DePaul loss into this turd sandwich right now. Look, as we said it, there are games on the schedule. The opportunity is still there. This team technically has 8, maybe 9 games left if they reschedule Georgetown. And there's potentially what we think, you're going to have 7 games that they very easily could win. They're not going to. I don't think they're going 7-2, but it's there should they come together and God forbid put a run together, and it sure would be nice.
And of course this team is young, so theoretically on an upward trajectory, although of course everyone perceives Marquette as a second half collapse type squad. So that'll be an interesting dynamic to follow. What if Marquette goes 8-0 to end the season? What happens then?
Now this is the Lions fan in you coming out for all the sick people here. This is what we would rationalize. Like, well, they're 3-6 right now, but if they rattle off the next 7, look at that. The Bears aren't great. That's 8. Sure, Pete. Yeah,
Well, there were those times. What was it? Was it
our
sophomore year when we started?
What if they win the Big East tournament and the NCAA tournament after? They could win their next, freaking 17 games. It's unbelievable.
I tell you what, though, if they are uncompetitive at home against Butler and then just get blown out by Creighton, I will totally be out. Butler is not a great team. I have respect. I think Providence is a pretty good team. They've hung there with a lot of other good squads. The DePaul loss is embarrassing, but I don't know what to tell you. I feel like every day of my life, Marquette loses to DePaul. It's just it's a loop that's happening in my head, and then when it actually happens in real life, I'm like, yeah, I know we lost to DePaul. That's
can I get that printed on a shirt or something? Do we need a merch shirt? I feel like every day of my life is a lot. Pete, you got a lot of good things going on in your life right now. That can't be the case. I refuse to believe that.
No, but it's a motivational tool.
I understand. That's unbelievable. Well, we have we hate. I'll tell you. I'll end with this before we get to the junk drawer. I don't like coming on here and being, team sobriety of just being real about what's going on. Like, we do this to kind of goof around and have fun with Marquette basketball, and they don't have to win all the time. And I'll be honest, traumatic losses can oftentimes be just as fun as big wins, if that makes sense in a sick way. But there hasn't been how did blah 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 and this and F this ref. We're not going to get a chance to get mad at officiating for lousy calls.
And it's not like we're like, oh, I can't believe we didn't call a timeout here or all of that. It's not like egregious coaching in game moments, other than there was the zone deal against, what was it, Xavier or UConn or someone, where we couldn't score against the zone. But other than that, it's not like major things standing out. It's more like the overarching turnover issues, guys not being assertive on offense, missing open shots, just not playing with your head on a swivel on defense and leaving guys open. Those are the big issues. It's not in-game moments. It's not even he's, Wojo's not making the halftime adjustments. It's more of a, these guys, they don't have the want to with taking care of the ball enough, in my opinion. And it's been a problem throughout the Wojo tenure. But I don't know how you as a coach just get guys to want to not turn the ball over. What do you tell them? Hey, that's bad basketball player. Don't turn it over. The guys know not to turn the ball over.
Right. Right. All right. Well, it is that time of the podcast. We are on to the junk drawer, and Peter, I believe this is as much a layup on the junk drawer as we have ever had on this podcast. Pete and I are obviously with you tonight. Eric Pond and Mike Lavender had some work things going on. They're jammed up. But Pete Worth couldn't be with us tonight for possibly the best reason imaginable. Pete Mohan, you want to deliver the news? You want me to?
Why don't you go ahead?
I'll drop it on the people. We want to give a thorough shout out to our brother Pete Worth and the biggest congratulations in the world. Welcomed his first child, his daughter. He and his wife Corey, Willow Genevieve Worth, 7 pounds, 10 ounces at 6:52 Central Time on January 21st, 1 week ago. We are so very happy for Pete. Yeah, he doesn't sleep anymore. But he's loving life. He's well. Everybody's the baby's well. His wife is well. And shouts to him. Everybody out there, throw him a little love on Twitter. If you see him, he is a new dad, and we are.
And Willow has delivered us 2 losses, including a loss to DePaul. So thanks for nothing, Willow.
That's true. Yeah, and Willow is 0-2 since before. So she was welcomed into the world with a loss to DePaul, Peter. And I don't think there is a single better way to be brought into the Marquette fan base like she will be for the rest
Swear
of
to
her
God,
life.
if that girl goes to DePaul.
Willow, we will get you the first every day is like a loss to DePaul T-shirt. It'll be a little big for you, but you can grow into it. Pete Mohan might even sign it for you. But shouts to neighbor Pete. We are very happy and thrilled for him. Anything to add on to that, Pete Mohan?
Nope. Just glad the Real Chili fam is growing by one, and maybe if foolish heads prevail, this podcast will be going on long enough that she could appear as a guest and voicing her opinion.
And maybe Willow will be smart and just go to a football school. She doesn't have to deal with this nonsense, right? Just go to Florida or LSU or why don't.
That's what I mentioned. Why I can tolerate this Marquette nonsense is from going to grad school at Clemson and
that's true.
Being gifted those national championships. I'm just I'm playing with house money with Marquette.
That's why you're so chill about this. This makes sense.
It really is. That's
for those of us that aren't accomplished and did not go to grad school. We just rely on Marquette, and that would explain my drinking and the lack of just general good things. That's just what it is. Marquette is it's a black hole of happiness. It just takes it all from you. They don't let us have nice things anymore.
Hey, we have a nice women's basketball program.
That's true. That's a very good point.
How about this? If we lose the next 3, I'm going to propose.
Why do you have to go down this road? Okay.
If we lose the next 3, I propose switching this to a MUWBB podcast the rest of the season.
I'm 100% down.
Because that is a legit squad, and shouts out to them. For anyone out there, to start paying attention to the women's team if you're not, because they're actually worth a shit. So
again, we didn't do a ton of hard game analysis, but God, is it painful to do nowadays. 72-63, Providence with the victory tonight. Marquette falls to 8-8 in the season. 4-6 in the Big East Conference. Jesus God, when do they play next? I don't even have the schedule.
Tuesday.
Who we got? We
6
got
days till Butler. So
Tuesday, I got 5 p.m. Eastern. Does that sound right? How could it be 5? That can't be right.
Is that what it says?
That's what it says on my. That's what it says on my Google thing, but that's got to be wrong. So maybe that's Central Time. I don't know.
It's saying it on KenPom as well. So
5 Eastern for you.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's going on February 2nd? Why the heck would a game be at 5 o'clock? That's
No
weird.
idea.
All right, well, don't take our word for it on that. Double check
Day
that.
after the Super Bowl? No, that's another week.
No, it's 2 extra days.
I don't know.
Look, Marquette's playing Butler on Tuesday. We'll probably react to it. Maybe it'll be positive. Who the hell knows? Like, maybe we'll feel good about ourselves after one of these, and we won't want to drive our freaking cars into ditches after the fact. Pete, final thoughts? Anything to wrap it up with the people?
Oh man, let me ask you here's a question.
By the way, before you give it, you've been on fire. I mean, you have just been some Confucius level, just straight as an arrow, dropping knowledge on us left and right. Making, I feel shameful for riding the roller coaster. I should have brought my pair of sunglasses to this to block the haters out and just know that, hey, believe in what you believe.
Believe in what you believe. I think also time off. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a live pod, and sometimes you need to step away from the microscope a little bit for some perspective. Here's my junk drawer question. Maybe some folks will answer also in the chat. But my question is, what is your dozing off to sleep TV show or thing that you put on the TV to doze off to?
Are you asking me directly first?
Yeah, I'm asking you, and then people can answer in the chat.
Right
I
now,
can get mine, but.
I mean, it's not every night, but I would say more often. I'm currently in the process of, when time permits, knocking out episodes of Cheers. I'm running back through that show, so I would say when I just need to knock out.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm just I'm knocking out 20 minutes at the end of the night. I work late for a lot of people. Some nights I'm getting home right around this time, so. Yeah, before I go into bed, I'll fire up an episode of Cheers, 30 minutes. Usually don't always fall asleep to it, but it's on, and then, lights out right after that. So I'll say episode of Cheers. There you go.
Okay. I like Forensic Files. There's something.
Oh, nice.
There's something about the song, the little song that they play when they go to commercial. And like. It's a lullaby of sorts, in my opinion. And the guy's the monotone, I think, also is something helpful. This guy, okay, MC Lee says King of Queens or Seinfeld.
Volume level on 7, though, very key.
Well, that has to be calibrated. I don't know if your volume goes to 100 or to 10. That's a big difference there. Some TVs I feel like go to something random too, like 35, and you're like,
I think mine goes to like 80. I gotta go back. I think I can go up to 80 on my.
Is that a baseball prospect? Come on. King of the Hill for Jay. Yeah.
Yeah, King of the Hill solid. When you're ripping through different ones. So.
And now maybe a Marquette basketball game that'll put you to sleep.
Well, I was going to say these days, a Marquette basketball game will put you to sleep. Well, that pretty much does it for this edition of the Real Chili Podcast. Like Pete said. Appreciate everybody hanging with us. We know we weren't on the last couple of weeks, and just straight up, like, just kind of bored with this team, and we all kind of we circled the wagons like the Buffalo Bills to the best of our ability, and we got Pete and I are back on here. We're definitely going to be here hopefully on Tuesday. We'll hope to get Mike, Eric, and Pete back in the mix when their schedules clear back up for work. But it is what it is. Marquette basketball. And it's funny, Pete and I said this right before we started. If this team was in second place, we'd be climbing all over each other to get on here, and we'd be excited, and you'd build your day around it. And I guess my final thought is, Pete, is right now, I don't think anybody, I think they're going to, we're all going to watch, but if there's something else to do, whatever. I'll catch up with it later. It's not must-see TV right now, which, no shock, it hasn't been that way for a while. But that's what we got. That's what the team's got to fight through. Pete, you're already potential projection of a 7-1 end of the season. That would capture some people's attention. We would love for that to happen. So, Wojo, please rattle off a 7-1 to end the season, please.
Please, that would be beautiful.
All right, that's it for Pete Mohan. I'm Brian Henry. This has been the Real Chili Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for watching on this thrilling. What is it? Wednesday night? Yeah, Wednesday night.
Yeah.
We'll catch you on Tuesday. Take care. Go Marquette.
Adios.
Congrats, Pete.